6 years ago, I was fit and healthy, horse riding, kayaking, and working full-time as a postdoc scientist. In February 2009, I caught a head cold. I kept working, but the infection just didn't go away. Suddenly, in March 2009, I felt dreadfully ill, dizzy and exhausted. I couldn't concentrate, and walking the length of my house was a struggle. I slept a lot, and I had crazy dreams. I struggled to articulate to my GP how ill I was feeling, but she seemed to understand. She advised me to rest and to pace my activities. And within a few months, she diagnosed post-viral fatigue syndrome.
For some reason, there seems to be medical controversy about this, which I don't quite understand.
Slowly, my health started to improve. My GP continues to be supportive. There was no self-help group locally, so in May 2010, I set up Lochaber ME. I was horrified to hear the members describe being dismissed and disbelieved by their family, by their friends, and even dismissed and disbelieved by their GP. ME is a debilitating neurological condition. Symptoms include profound fatigue, concentration problems, or brain fog, and symptoms that get worse after physical or mental activity. There are often many other fluctuating physical symptoms. It's thought to affect more than 20,000 adults and children in Scotland, but some doctors and health professionals still fail to accept ME as a real illness. I interviewed my GP, Dr. Meg Pollock, to get her perspective on caring for her ME patients.
Hi, I'm Meg Pollock, GP in Ballaghulish. Meg has asked me to do a short video on what it's like to be a GP looking after people with chronic fatigue syndrome, post-viral fatigue and ME. For me personally, it is like any other chronic medical condition. It certainly isn't something where there is a quick fix, and therefore people need support and advice and guidance about medical management. Meg was asking me to talk about frustrations from a GP point of view, and I think that as a condition, for some reason, there seems to be medical controversy about this, which I don't quite understand, perhaps just because there isn't a blood test to say that it is or isn't there, and it's a diagnosis of exclusion, although that is the case for many other medical conditions. And there are some historic conditions like SLE or syphilis, which are multi-system in their presentation and were thought to be fictitious until the tests that they could be diagnose them particularly were better understood. It's very frustrating to sort of see people suffering from something that you don't have a test for or a cure for, particularly when it's so debilitating. It can therefore be difficult to explain to patients when you think they've got it that this is what they have, and also to accept that the timescale of recovery may be significantly longer than anybody would want, really. I think that's a frustration on both parts, both patient and doctor, that there isn't a cure, and it's difficult to know exactly when people will be better. We also had a microbiologist locally, Dr. Huyen, who wrote a book about it, which I found useful. I think you found useful as well, and most people, I've lent it out to people, have found it quite useful. Just in the way in which it describes things and lets people come to and maybe more of an acceptance of the condition. I think it's much more frustrating for the patients than it is for me treating them. Which always makes me wonder why on earth there can be controversy about something, but why would people want to have it? You know, it's just, yeah.
I was thinking about the illness that has to be self-managed at the moment, with the patient who has to look after themselves and pace themselves and gradually pace up. And what I felt I got here was that I was supported in that process.
Well, I think it's a partnership really between patient and GP, which is, you know, there are management plans for COPD, for many chronic conditions, but it doesn't mean that you don't do your annual reviews and make sure that people are on optimum treatment and review how they are with that. So, you know, there's still ongoing care.
My ME still has a big impact on my life, but I now feel reasonably well as long as I stay within the limits imposed by my illness. I put a lot of the energy I have into campaigning for services for people with ME and for training on ME for GPs. We need to raise our expectations of what the NHS does for people with ME. You can help. If someone you know describes debilitating fatigue that gets worse after any physical or mental activity, please take them seriously. It's likely that they will look okay, so please really listen to what they're saying.